Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Welcome all my friends to the show that gets to say, show me the Murray.
Oh, win number 10, Tim, win number 10.
Double digits, baby.
So to set this up, I've got a post coming out on Friday on the crawfish boxes comparing Jordan's season to some historical seasons that have happened in baseball history. At least, what pace he is currently on. So my opening question for you, Tim, I've got one rule. The one rule is it has to be outside your lifetime. You get to go back in the DeLorean and watch one season of a player of your choosing. What year are you going and who are you watching?
God, I mean that's a tough question. There's definitely more than one.
Oh yeah.
So I think for Sir Jackie's up there, his first season in the big leagues would be amazing. I think the year Hank Aaron broke the home run record, to follow him that year would be pretty incredible.
I can't pick that one.
You can't? Okay.
You can, I can't.
And then how about like a late 80s, just a team like the Bash Bros A's? Like I feel like pick one of those, either Canseco or McGuire, follow them for the year. That would be that'd be a pretty fun year.
Yeah, you can do that. Unfortunately, I can't. That doesn't fit my rule. I actually, so I looked it up and obviously I did the math, and statistically speaking, going with my stat bases per out, would you like to guess the best season I could find bases per out?
I'm gonna guess maybe Maris or Mantle.
Nope. It's in both of our lifetimes.
Is it Bonds?
It's Bonds, 2002.
Is it just because all the walks probably too?
All the walks, plus he hit 370. Plus, of course, you have all those home runs. It was a pretty good all-around year. But in order to answer my own question, because I can't answer 2002, I would go kind of obscure. I'm going to go Josh Gibson, 1943, because that was his best season. And, fortunately, there's no footage of him, right?
Yeah.
Now, you want to go off the wall. Have you heard of Rube Waddell?
I have. If you're interested in his story, there's a wonderful podcast episode that I've probably sent you 3 times that you should finally listen to.
Well, I know
the man would hop off the effing mound if a fire truck drove by.
Yes, and chase
the fire truck down the street. He would send his infielders and outfielders off the field and then just strike everyone out. He was Showtime before we knew what Showtime was, Scott.
So he's an undercover pick for me because I'd known all those things, and there's obviously some conjecture about what he suffered from, specifically in the
He's on the
psychiatric
spectrum
center.
for sure.
Oh, sure, yeah, he's there. I know Satchel Paige used to do that trick with all the fielders. So that would be fun to watch. Especially some battles with Josh Gibson. You can get that one-on-one action. So yeah, quite a bit. I didn't get Mantle or Maris into my list, but
Maris's 61 season would have been pretty fun to follow, man.
it would have been for the chase. Ruth in 1920 would be fun because he hit 54 home runs, which he out homered the league. So I mean obviously nobody had seen anything like that up to that point.
No, that's for sure impressive because that also was the record at that point, and then he said it again in 21, right, where he hit
20,
60.
yeah, and then he ultimately set it in 27 with 60. Gehrig's 27 season was on that list. So if you wanted to follow the 27 Yankees, that would be, a team to follow.
Yeah, 61 Yankees because you had Maris and Mantle. What about like the 80 Astros, man? Follow Nolan and
Yeah,
watching the
especially
steal.
first half. They had a trivia question the other day, and I don't know who they paired with J.R. Richard, but it was basically two pitchers who you would like to see again. And it was like Clemens and Oswald, Ryan and
Scott.
maybe, I can't remember, but who? Randy Johnson. Janet's chiming in. And it was J.R. Richard. I want to say Don Wilson.
Okay.
Was probably, and I never really got to see J.R. Richard pitch. I mean, he was obviously active when I was alive, but I really wasn't cognizant of baseball in 1980. So, at least from a television point of view. So you imagine him today, high 90s, 91, 92 mile an hour slider from a guy who's about 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah.
Right-handed hitters would suddenly get the flu whenever it came his turn in rotation. Like Mike Schmidt, I don't think ever wanted to face him.
I'd be interested too. What would a Mike Scott do today? Right? Like
Yeah, that's
obviously
true.
did some things to get at, he was the old Eddie Harris maybe of the
They're
Astros.
looking where they have to look at their hands after every inning.
Yeah, I think that might have been an issue for Mike. But the guy, my dad used to talk about when Mike Scott was on and the ball was dancing for him, he was practically unhittable.
Oh, it just
And
dropped off a table, Tim.
yeah,
I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, he didn't throw that hard. He threw maybe 89, 90, and occasionally would really muscle it up there 91, 92. But by today's standards, now I don't think Mike Scott ever met a buffet he didn't like. So maybe with some modern training techniques and a modern kind of more athletic diet, maybe he adds a few ticks on the fastball. Who knows?
maybe. But it's crazy when you look back at like Boomer Wells, right? That guy wasn't exactly
No,
the
no, God, no.
the epitome of men's fitness. But
He's
you want 200 innings of good of 3.5 already. Like he was your guy.
I watched his perfect game live whenever I first got DirecTV right out of college, and that was just fun. Supposedly did it drunk, which kind of makes perfect sense.
He's
Have
like
I
the
ever told you
John Daly of Major League Baseball.
Did I ever tell you the Greg Swindell story?
I don't know.
So supposedly somebody thought he was doctoring the ball when he was with the Astros. So when the umpire went out to check him, empty his pockets, a jelly donut fell out.
If that's real, that's fantastic. You're like, I did doctor it, but not on purpose. It was just a little
jelly got on the ball
filling on my hand. Yeah, sorry about that, Blue. I was running late this morning. You know how these Sunday starts go. I didn't get my breakfast. I had Shipley's on the way, and between my bullpen and my stretch and team prayer, it's Sunday after all. I didn't get to have my breakfast.
All right, Tim. So we're mentioning some guys, some fun guys to watch, but then we got this team.
Scott, yes, but also the Astros compliment sandwiched their last three series. Either they had a good, they had a bad, then they had another good.
Yeah,
So it's this team reminds me of 2016, where every time in 2016, every time you kind of felt like we were turning the corner, like, okay, here it is. We're coming off a playoff win. We've got a team that's set to go. And it just kind of seemed like they're stuck on the mud. And every time you felt like they were going to turn the corner and find their footing and make that run, it just never came. And I'm curious if this is going to be similar, because you have a great series against Colorado. You look pretty good. You take 2 or 3. Then the Cardinals come to town and you look like absolute dog shit in all 3 of those games. Then you go to first place Cleveland, take 2 or 3, had a chance to win all 3, really, and beat a pretty darn good pitcher today, and took a lead against a really good pitcher yesterday. And so, and I know I shit on Ryan Weiss through 2 innings to you, but the guy ended up turning in a decent outing.
yeah. I think what killed me in this series, and I didn't see it, but I go to my Sabre meeting on Monday night, and the first thing I see is, hey, Trammell hits a double. Hey, Taylor Trammell's coming out of the game because he's got a groin injury. And then later on in the series, you got the guy taking his place, which I'm not even going to try to remember his name, who we got from the White Sox. He gets hit by a pitch. He gets taken out of the game. Then you got the guy that comes in for him, whose name I don't remember, and I'm not going to try to. First pitch, he gets hit by a pitch. It's like, what the hell? But of course, he stayed in the game. Everything was fine. But this team,
we have this girl on Sawyer's softball team that, like, Haley would back me up on this, and I'm not bullshitting you. She gets hit by a pitch like 85% of the time that she's in the batter's box, and minimum once a game. Like, you can book it typically first at bat of the game. London, go ahead and just take your base and get the ice going, because she's going to get hit by a pitch. Like, that's literally what's happening right now. Like, this team is snake bit.
putting the old Rudy Stein, huh? With that,
They all need the Biggio armware at this point. Like, everybody out there needs to go get with Craig Biggio, find out who gave him the padding, and make sure that we get a Bagwell hand brace and a Biggio elbow guard, and you're good to go.
Do you think you could hit a baseball dressed up in full old night regalia?
No.
But,
could you do it in catcher's gear?
Yeah, but in all seriousness, no. And we've had this debate on crawfish, and some people are sitting there saying, "Hey, this team snake bit is bad luck." This is 2 years in a row unprecedented injuries. I don't think, and if you read between the lines, you saw Correa's comments when he first came over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This team does not have a warm-up regimen. I mean, I think what they've done is they've just said, hey, you guys are professional athletes. Y'all know what you need to do. Just go out and do it. Just go out and get ready. And I think, I don't know if that's I know the training staff is a Dana Brown thing, but I don't know if the whole idea of you just do whatever the hell you want on game day to get ready, I don't know if that's a Joe Espada thing or a Dana Brown thing. Clearly, one or both of those guys are not stepping up and taking a leadership role and go like, no, we're actually going to do this right.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. And in fact, the Astros subreddit is pretty active, right? And it's funny, even though we've been a great team for a long time, we're actually rated as one of the most negative subreddits of all the Major League Baseball fans. And there was a post that was pretty negative on Dana Brown. And someone, a lot of people, and I think it should rightfully be negative for Dana Brown right now. But someone comes in and basically, made some good points, right? Like he was brought in here to rebuild the farm and keep the competitive window at the same time. But also don't go above the CBT unless there's a player that Crane really wants. And he's right. That math doesn't add up. He's basically saying if it wasn't for injuries, he would have pulled it off, right? Like Crane, Jim Crane has kind of hampered him, and you and I both agree that's the case, right? But even in those situations, my thing is this: you still have to answer the questions if you're Dana Brown of why did you promote from within after a historically bad season injury wise last year, and then just promote from within after they didn't even do a scan of Yordan Alvarez's hand last year and just had him go back out there after Jake Myers is sent into a game that he
I
shouldn't have
didn't even make it to the game.
but he was sent out to play,
Yeah.
right? All things that are questions. Why didn't you fire Cintrone after 2024? Why did you let him come back another year? I think Bryce Matthews is a negative on his mark. I think he's a PR nightmare. I think anytime you put a microphone in front of Dana Brown, he puts his fucking foot in his mouth. I think he is terrible in front of the microphone. And then I think there's another one that you would agree with. He had no plan for bringing MI over here. And you spent all this money to go into the Japanese market and then have no way to immerse him culture-wise into Houston, Texas, into American baseball, into Major League Baseball, right? And people just want, and this guy immediately wants to write it off as, it's too early for Bryce. He's, we're making a big deal out of nothing with his PR things. We're assuming they didn't have a plan. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm not a negative Astros fan, right? But if we can't hold our management accountable for things like this, right? You promoted from within on a historically bad training staff, and it's gotten worse. It's gotten fucking worse.
Well,
it wasn't this bad early last year.
My answer to your subreddit is that one of three things are true, right? So either A, Dana Brown is signing injured players, so maybe MI had an underlying injury before he came here, which that raises the question of what research did you do? Did you do any kind of look into his medical history? We have other players that come in and all of a sudden are hurt. Did we look into their injury histories? So there's that possibility, right? Possibility number two is that their training and return to play is shot and sucks. That's also on the general manager. Or it's just blind, stupid luck. Okay, which of those three are we going to rest our hat on?
I think it's a combination of 2 and 3. I think there's obviously some blind, bad, stupid luck in there, right? But I think there are training staffs in baseball that are much better equipped to get guys back faster and healthier after that bad luck than the Astros are. And I think there are other training staffs who maybe have more baseline data, who maybe go more into the biometrics of how the body works that help them prevent some of that bad luck. Because I don't think the Astros do that stuff. I think when you get a day off, it's because their spot is like, I got a feeling Altuve needs a day off. The new season of Finer Things dropped on Netflix. I know he's a big fan, so I'll give him a day off so we can binge. Then we'll chat about it, and then we'll go to work the next day.
Yeah, and those guys never. And your Altuves, your Correas, your Yordans, they're not going to want a day off. So if you go to them and you sit there and say, hey, you want to take a breather today? They're going to say, no, put me in there. I want to play. And what pisses me off about that, Tim, is I remember vividly Jeff Lunau talking about the extensive database that he had set up to monitor player health. Player health coming into the organization, player health as guys were going through the system, player health as guys were playing at the big league level. He had, so they were studying this stuff. They were getting all these copious records. What the hell happened? And to me, the problem, and I get it from a Jim Crane standpoint, depending on who you want to believe in terms of the scandal and who was responsible and all that. I tend to believe that Jeff Luhnow set up a culture of people that maybe looked the other way and didn't really, didn't really have the scruples that you would want in a major league franchise. That's what I tend to believe. The thing is that you can still do the things that Jeff Luhnow did well and do it with integrity. I mean, if you want to sit there and say that Jeff Luhnow's a scumbag and shouldn't have another major league job, I mean, you're certainly free to say that. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but based on his interviews after the fact, I would say like he hasn't done anything to earn another opportunity. But my issue with Crane is that your organization was the number one organization in baseball, top to bottom, because of the procedures and the methods that Jeff Luhnow put in there. And what did you do? You brought in a guy, James Click, who was doing a lot of the same things, and you were still on top through 2022. And what have we seen since 2022? We've seen a steady decline because, those players are leaving, the farm system's getting depleted. You're not spending money on the front end, so you're making trades on the back end at the trade deadline. You're getting rid of prospects. And I think the guy is basically right. If this team were healthy, they would have been in the playoffs in 2025 easily. So you have to look at Dana Brown saying, like, what are you not doing for this team to be healthy?
And I think it's more than that, though, Scott, because when healthy, look at what this team was going into the season, right? You and I talked about this. You have a front end starter in Hunter Brown that you felt really, really good at or good about, right? You and I spent the whole offseason, the whole spring training talking about Christian Javier is not a guy that you want to bank on. We make a trade for Mike Burrows, who's got good stuff, had some tough luck this year, but never thrown more than 120 major league innings. You go to the foreign market for a guy who may be good, right? Like we still don't know, but it's a complete unknown. And then your fifth starter is Lance McCullers, who we would love if Lance was good and helps you win again, but every bit of statistical evidence out there spoke otherwise. Then let's look at some of the other arms you brought in this offseason. You went to Korea to get a guy in Ryan Weiss who kind of flamed out of Major League Baseball and had to go find other opportunities to pitch. You make a move for a guy in Tang who isn't been bad. He's been actually really good, but he also flamed out with the Giants, right? Like you did nothing that would make me feel excited about this starting pitching staff, other than the fact that I was an Astros fan and looking through orange colored glasses, I thought the Amai move was going to be filthy. Guys like Weiss, I both saw the upside there. We had been tainted with, we talked about with previous years of pitching success, that we don't question any of these moves. But now, hindsight being 2020, the pitching wasn't deep enough last year. You lose Framber Valdez, and you just didn't replace it. You tried to moneyball something together, and time will tell if that works. But you can't tell me, even when healthy going into the year, that this was a group of playoff pitchers. Ryan Weiss in your bullpen, Tang in your bullpen, a Blue Ball getting big innings in your bullpen. This is not, and Hader coming back isn't going to hurt things. It's going to help a bit, but at the end of the day, a guy that you relied on to be nails for you has imploded worse than even fucking Brad Lidge did. Brian King is getting high leverage innings to start the year. De Los Santos is your new closer. Like it's a fucking mess.
Well, and what bugs me, Tim, is that when you look at this team in the past, we talk about the pitching lab, this team bats probably about 500 on pitchers, right? Maybe 400, 500 on pitchers. For every success story that you can name, we could probably name a guy who was like, who the hell was that guy? Like, would you like me to, was it Dylan Coleman or Lewis Coleman or who was that guy? That was a couple of years ago. So I think the problem is that in years past, you had 4 solid starters. And then you sign 3 or 4 guys and you're thinking one of these 3 is going to be a good fit starter. And so far, actually, that's actually turned out to be probably about right. Peter Lambert, who the hell is this guy? Well, so far in 2 outings, he's been okay. I think Burrows, if you look at the underlying numbers and not his actual ERA, has been okay. He's been, maybe better than okay. Tang has been brilliant. So your pitching lab is doing some things. It's still doing things that like it always has done. The problem is that instead of having 4 solid starters and then a 5th guy that you're kind of rolling the dice on, you've got maybe 1 solid starter and you're rolling the dice on the other 4 guys. And you're not going to get there. And the thing is, this team starts slow every year. And why do they start slow? Because they've got 4 or 5 arms, and they're like, 1 or 2 of these guys are going to be good. Which one of these guys are going to be good? I don't know until maybe Memorial Day. Then we finally figure it out and go like, oh, it's Tang. Okay, Tang's the guy this year. Or, oh, it's Lambert. Okay, Lambert's the guy. Oh, it's Caleb Ort this year. And then last year, no, it's not Caleb Ort. It's going to be Bennett Sousa. Okay, it's going to be Bennett Sousa. And every year it's a different guy. And unfortunately, it takes you a good solid 6 to 8 weeks for you to build up enough innings with everybody to figure out, okay, who in the hell can we rely on?
But part of also what made that lab good, Scott, too, is you made really good pitchers great, right? Like Justin Verlander was already a very good pitcher, right? Like he was probably headed towards the downside of his career when he came to Houston before the revival. But if he retired right then, he would have been known as a really good pitcher, who just kind of sucked to have been in Detroit. Like that would have been it. But they showed him his slider could have been better and took a guy that was on a certain track and fell off and made him on a Hall of Fame track again. You take Framber Valdez, right? You make a good pitcher and make him great. You take Hunter Brown, a good pitcher, and make him great. Like that's what this lab is really designed to do. Like, yes, it will find guys with good stuff and elevate them as well, but it's not designed to turn AAA pitchers into quality major league starters, right? Like you and I would both agree that at the end of the day, the lab is only as good as the execution. And if you can't fucking consistently throw strikes, the pitching lab doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what pitch you throw for a ball when you walk the fucking bases loaded. You've walked the bases loaded. It doesn't matter how you did it. You fucking did it. You could have intentionally walked the ball. You could have bounced 12 curveballs in the dirt. I don't fucking care. The bases are loaded either way. So what does the pitching lab data matter there?
Because and that's the thing is you're relying on guys like who Colton Gordon. You're relying on Peter Lambert. You're relying on who was that Bolton guy? I never heard of. I don't remember him from spring training. Who the hell is this guy? You haven't seen Jason Alexander yet. Thank God Spencer Arrighetti finally got inserted into the rotation. But I go back to the fact that what has this team been known for since Dusty Baker? Like what would you say?
Really good bullpen.
So you had Hader, who you now don't have. You had an effective, really good Brian Abreu, who you now don't have. And so when you were building around that, you're like, can I find a 7th inning guy? Well, to me, Bluebach can be a 7th inning guy. If you don't pitch him multiple innings and you start him in a clean inning, he can be that guy. Tang, if you don't throw his arm out by May 1st, he can be that guy. But the problem is that when you don't have anybody else in your bullpen, I mean, Joe Espada is managing every game, just looking for. I mean, he's got that heroin addict. The dragon is innings. I can see the innings. Oh, give me another shot. I can catch the inning. I can catch, and he's not managing for 162. He's managing every game like it's game 7 of the World Series. Like, just get me through this game. Well, the problem is now you get me through this game, then you go to the next game. Like, Brian King. Why is Brian King ineffective? Because he threw 48 fucking pitches like 2 days before. Why are you bringing him in with the bases juiced when, he's pitched 48 innings with 1 day of rest? When does that ever make sense? But see, when we can't manage our bullpen from day to day to day, we're forced into decisions like that.
Absolutely. And then you pair that with the Joe Spotted knowledge that, oh shit, I used Brian King for 48 pitches yesterday. I should try and get an extra inning out of my starter. He got through 4 clean, but if I could squeak him through this 5th inning here, oh, now the bases are loaded. I gotta make a move. Everybody up, up. Like, that's like, he's like, things are cruising. I've got a converted starter in Colton Gordon down there. Could I start him in a clean 5th inning? I could.
No.
But Weiss could get me 2 more outs and then load the bases, and then I could go to him, and then we could get out of it.
Bring him in with the bases juiced, Tim. He's built for that.
I think more pitchers should look forward to that.
He's going to chase the fight, Tim. That's what he's going to do.
That is chasing the fight, Scott, is loading the bases and then getting the fuck out of Dodge and letting somebody else deal with it.
All right, so positives. Certainly, we beating the Indians the Guardians 2 out of 3 times is a positive. I don't know how positive beating the Rockies is 2 out of 3 at home.
They whooped our asses in home.
It's certainly better than the alternative. I think absolutely, and the guy I feel most worst for on this lineup has been Cam Smith. I mean, did you see that rocket he hit to the outfield where the guy made a jumping catch?
Yeah, he's had some tough luck here lately.
I mean, he's hit the ball on the screws. Poor Christian Vasquez can't get in the game, even though every game he seems to do something,
He was great today behind the plate.
He caught a shutout. Huh? What do you know? And a guy can call pitches. What the fuck? And I just, I don't know if you saw this, but based on FWAR, Yair Diaz is the worst regular catcher in baseball.
I didn't see the FWAR, but I also could have made that statement very confidently without it.
Minus 0.4. So, but I think as great as he has been, I really like what I've seen. Hopefully he gets back before June. But Taylor Trammell, I really liked what I saw from him and the early going. I would love to see a platoon between, if we can get them healthy, between him and Jake Myers. I think in center field would be, I think, ideal. They're righty lefty. I think that works. Get Trammell the majority of the at bats, because I think athletically he can do more than a Myers. I think in left field, if we could get him back, Loper Fido. And Bryce Matthews, actually what's funny is that some of his underlying numbers are not terrible. He strikes out a ton. But the question is, you had to sign or trade for 2 outfielders nobody's heard of.
No, he's going to get playing time at this point. Like, this is shit or get off the pot time for Bryce Matthews, right? Like, but the number that's concerning for me, Scott, is he doesn't have a bad chase rate. He's got a huge strikeout rate, and these are just on fucking fastballs in the zone.
Yeah, he just swings and misses a lot. And I think that if you look at what Dana Brown has done in terms of the draft, Every prospect has got swing and miss. Every single prospect. If you want to look at Nayans, who they just drafted, if you want to look at who's the guy they got from LSU, this is flying. It's escaping me right now, but Kevin Alvarez is a little bit less swing and miss, but still some swing and miss there. You look at obviously Zach Cole, ton of swing and miss there. And so my question is that the most effective use of your prospect dollars that you can get? I mean, if you want a hole in somebody's game, is the ability to hit the baseball consistently the hole that you want to invest in?
I would think so, Scott. I don't know. Like, I understand OPS and all the things that go with it, but like, I enjoyed a player like a Wade Boggs who had the ability to just slap it down the left field line if you're playing off the bag. Guys like a Paul Mall, just pure hitters, John Olerud, right? Like, not everybody has to have an 850 OPS. I am
Well, they did.
fine.
They did.
I know, but like the type of hitter I'm talking about, the punch and Judy singles hitter, right? Like that guy isn't valued the same way anymore. But like there's still a ability, like there's still something to be said for a guy who can put the fucking bat on the ball every single time. I think Altuve is a great example, right? Like you can rein in the chase, you can rein in some of the wanting to stretch the zone and just instead of flipping it into right field on a 1-0 slider low and away, why don't you wait for the 2-1 fastball that you can hammer, right? Like Altuve was a great example of that. I'd rather take the guy who can hit everything and then rein him in and kind of teach him where his real attack zone is versus the guy who can hit the fucking then Pedro Serrano, basically, right? Like, hey, now mix in some of the breaking stuff, and next thing you know, he's fanning the front row.
Well, what kills me on this team, I think, is when you look at this team, the guy you're describing is Christian Vasquez. That's the
And
guy.
he's a great hitter, and he's a perfect 9-hole hitter.
That's the guy you're describing. He's going to hit maybe 250 if he's playing regularly, right? He's not going to hit over 300. He's not going to hit 2 home runs a month. That's not who he is. But he's a guy that's going to be giving you a 4 or 5 pitch at bat. He's going to give you a competitive at bat. And that's the thing that I think is missing, from the bottom of the order. And that's what Yainer doesn't give you is that, if there's a runner on third and 1 out, do you have faith that Yainer's going to bring that guy home?
Absolutely not.
I mean, do you have faith Christian Vasquez to bring that guy home?
Yep.
And that's a difference. Now, he's not going to be an all-star. You mentioned guys who are all-stars. But he is going to be a guy who's going to give you competitive at-bats time in and time out. And I think when you look at the rest of the lineup, the only 2 guys that would worry me outside of Diaz about giving you competitive at-bats time and time again would be Pena when he's healthy. I feel like when we say when healthy a lot in this lineup. And Altuve, outside of this first couple of weeks, it looks like he's reverted back to his old self a little bit. And so sometimes he doesn't give you that competitive at-bat. But he's still, I think it's situational because I don't know if you saw, I can't remember which game it was at home, but we were down to the last out, and he takes a walk.
Yeah.
And that's something he's willing to do, that you stick a Diaz up there. If you told Diaz, don't swing the bat, put on your shoulder, I don't know that he could do it.
I don't think so. It's like, you remember in Space Jam when Michael Jordan's like at the beginning, they're like, hey, curveball, don't swing. And he just swings anyway. He's like, I told you not to swing. And he's like, it's okay. I'll get you another one. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you could literally be like, hey, Yainer, this one's going to be a slider in the dirt. Don't swing. And then you throw it and he swings. And he's like, I'm sorry, man. It looked like it was going to be a good pitch. I thought you were messing with me. Like, he has gotten worse every year. that he's been a major league player. I think that's a fair
Yeah.
statement. He has gotten better with the ABS challenges, but he's still absolutely dog shit just when it comes to commanding a staff. And I think when you look at some of the struggles this team has had, his pitching leadership has to be looked at as part of the problem, right? Like we used to talk, why do so many guys want to throw the machete over Yiner? You know, you got to make them throw to him. It's all starting to add up now, Scott, right? Like some of those reasons, some of those pitchers, the veterans especially, didn't want to throw to Yiner. Now look at these young guys who are really struggling to find their footing with Yiner calling pitch sequences.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of unfortunate is that his defensive rating was actually positive in his first, 2023. So, he was a guy, and Machetes wasn't. And so he's a guy that if he could have built on that, think about how much money he's costing himself, Tim.
Oh God, every day.
I mean, this guy probably after 2024, we were probably saying back then, if you got old, podcast, episodes, hey,
You wanted to extend him. You were
extend
talking
this guy.
extensions.
Extend this guy. Well, thank God we didn't. I mean, that ended up being the best decision, of all. But I don't know. All right, Tim. Do you want to move on to that other?
Yeah, we could talk a little we could talk a little hardwood. That was a really you didn't watch the game last night, Scott, but I did. And that was a tough watch because it never really got out of hand. Like you were always in it and you kept getting just close enough, but it never felt like we were playing good basketball. Like we'd have a lead or like we'd be within 4. And every time the Lakers pulled away, we kept it close and it kept it just interesting enough that you didn't turn the TV off. But that game was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And Ime Udoka is absolutely fucking terrible. He played Reed Shepherd for 10 minutes last night on a game where we struggled to score the basketball. And when asked about it, he said, I thought we did a good job defensively. I couldn't fit Reed in there. Really? Really? Aaron fucking Holiday and Jason Tate got minutes last night, Scott. We complained all year. Why is Aaron Holiday not getting minutes? So you're going to play a guy you haven't played all fucking year in the playoffs because he gives you a better chance to win than Reed Shepherd? Really, Ime? Really? Then why didn't you play him all fucking year?
Yeah, I made a calculated decision there, Tim. I made a calculated decision. Number one, I'm a working man. So, I got to wake up, early the next morning. I get to work by 6:30. So, every day is an early morning for me. And so I said, okay, do I want to invest my time in this game? Do I think this is going to be a good game? Well, KD actually got off to a better start than I thought he would. He scored 20 first half points.
Yeah, he looked good in the first.
And you weren't winning the game. You were barely in the game with him scoring 20. And then he scores all of 3 in the second half?
Yeah.
It's I don't know, Tim. So I think this team is everything that what we said they were in terms of the negatives. And what worries me is that I feel like they're going to make a move for Giannis.
Yep.
Same. I feel like that's the move.
And they're going to burn this whole young core for 2 aging fucking veterans.
And it's going to be Alpi and some other contract.
It's going to be Alpi and Jabari probably.
And if you make that your team, it still doesn't solve your issues.
Mm-mm.
I mean, yeah, he can defend. Yeah, he can rebound. Yeah, he can score. He can distribute, which is all things that Alpi can do. I guess he's better at it than Alpi is when healthy. But your problems are still the same. You don't have a point guard. As last time I checked, Giannis is not a point guard. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. I don't follow the league that much.
I mean, not anymore.
No, he's not a point guard. So you've still got Amen Thompson who can't shoot the basketball. and he's still your third scoring option. So tell me how this thing is fundamentally changed
I mean,
if you do that.
it's not, and it's quite frankly, you're in a worse position because Giannis is older. He's got a lot of run on his legs. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, Scott, that Alpi is a future star because I'm very frustrated with him.
Yes, yes.
I think we saw him try and kind of carry this team in the playoffs last year and really was unable to do so. And our reaction was to try and get him the help he needed, right? In Durant for him to be able to, do what he needs down low and let Durant do what he needs up top. They were running double teams at Durant every time he touched the ball in the second half, and Alpi couldn't do shit. He passed up open looks. He then gets the ball back in bad positions and tries to take bad shots. He missed around the rim constantly. He was terrible. He was terrible on the defensive glass. I felt like, he's a defensive liability for sure. The Lakers had their way with us down low, and at the end of the day, you've got to step the fuck up when they're double teaming Durant. Teams have run double teams at Durant for 82 games now. And for 82 games, the Rockets haven't found an answer to that. And the answer is supposed to be Sengun. If you're going to double up top, then you kick the ball down low to Sengun and let him go to work. But that hasn't grown. His repertoire hasn't got any better. He does all the same moves, but the ball just doesn't fucking go on the rim.
Yeah, here's my fundamental problem though. We were talking about Dana Brown earlier, right? So let's put our caps on here, Tim. How many games did Durant play this year in the regular season?
I don't know. It was like 75-ish.
78.
Okay.
What are the odds that he gives you that next year?
It's pretty high. I don't know.
Based on his history, I would say
65, 70% chance.
I'd go more like 5%.
Oh, okay.
He's not but here's my point. Now, maybe higher than that. So I'm going to give you Giannis. What are the odds that both of them give you 75 games?
Probably pretty low, especially because Giannis is coming off an injury this year. So you're going to want to ease him back into it early on in the year next year. So that's a big part of it. And I don't think Giannis fixes the problems, like you said. I am with you. I am with you that Giannis is just an older, more mature version of what Sengun can be right now, right? Like he can pass a little better, probably doesn't shoot as well, a little bit better rebounder, much better around the rim, probably similar ball handling, much more expensive. Much more expensive.
Well,
And on the wrong side of 30.
and this is what kills me. And the other part too is so think about when you're in high school, right? You and I, we lived on the range in the course.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a tournament where you missed some short putts.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing the next week?
Working on my driver. No, I'm just kidding. I'm working on short putts.
To me, I leave Eamon Thompson in a gym and said, you don't leave until you make 1,000 threes.
I've been told he does do that over the
Bring it-
offseason though. Like that's already happening.
Well, it's not helping. And to me, and so you're going to be better with a healthy Fred VanVleet. But again, we're starting to tack things on. What are the odds that you get 75 games out of Fred VanVleet?
I'm going to say pretty low. There's probably going to be back-to-back limits on him early on.
What's the odds that you get 70 games out of Steven Adams?
Pretty low. At this point, Scott, would you consider a package to move up into a top 5 pick to go get, Kingston Flemings from the University of Houston and go and get that point guard of the future to learn from Fred as a backup plan, right? Like, I think that's something I would trade Tari Eason for a top 5 pick and see or Tari Eason and something else, right? Like, I'm trying to make that move to move up in the draft. Tari Eason and my pick this year for a better for a better lottery pick.
Or like a 27 or Brooklyn's pick in 27.
Something.
That's going to be a lottery pick in all likelihood. I think that's a better move because this team is just not going to be held. If you when you go old, when you trend old, we've seen it. I've seen it. When this team went Barkley, Drexler, and Hakeem, oh man, that seemed like a good move to make. When this team went Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, what was it that brought them down?
It was the Luis Scola and Carl Landry show, baby.
Well, because they couldn't stay on the floor.
Exactly.
And to me, I hate this whole, Pollyanna. We're going to trade for one of the best 5 players or 10 players in the NBA. And we've got another top 10 player in the NBA already here, and it's going to be great. And then the next year comes, they got hurt. Who could have seen that coming? I could have seen it coming. And to me, if, is Fleming a star? I don't know. Is Fleming a starting level point guard in the NBA? Maybe immediately, maybe not. But I think he will be.
I think he's a young Derrick Rose, Scott. I really do. I've said it over and over again. If you look at what Derrick Rose could do in college and you look at what Kingston Fleming can do, the athleticism there, the ability to get to the rim is there, the mid-range jumper is there. He's a better three-point shooter than Rose was. Like, this is a guy who would fit perfectly with Fred VanVleet as an opportunity to learn from a savvy veteran who could teach him the ropes of what it means to be an NBA player, because he is only 19 years old. And we can have this topic after we get eliminated. We'll be put out of our misery in 2 games. I don't see the Rockets winning a game in this series, Scott.
I think gentleman's sweep.
I don't see it. I really don't. Like, the thing that we talked about last week when we were predicting the series is LeBron's basketball IQ and being able to elevate the game of other guys. Fucking Luke Kennard is killing us. Kennard is absolutely killing us. It's not, LeBron James had nice performances, but LeBron's not doing it. He's getting other guys involved. He's getting people great looks. The floor is spaced. They're running a well-oiled offense, and we don't have an offense. I took a screenshot of a quote from Charles Barkley about the Rockets offense. I want to pull it back up here. I think it nailed my frustration, right? They just play one-on-one basketball. It's better when it's Kevin Durant and Sengun, but they don't run plays. It's like everybody goes one-on-one. You look at the game, they're like, what are they doing? They just, whoever gets it, shoots it. If you look at them during the entire regular season, we said they don't have a point guard, but they did have Kevin Durant to cover up their flaws. Like, I have no idea what kind of offense they are running. That's Charles Barkley.
And here's what kills me, Tim. Remind me again how much coaching experience JJ Redick had before he took over the Lakers job.
Maybe a little AAU on a daughter's team, but not much.
So here's this guy who coached under Popovich, coached a Boston Celtics team to the NBA Finals. And, I don't know if he was coach of the year last year, but, certainly was one of the candidates for coach of the year. How are you getting out coached by a guy who had never coached any level of basketball that we know of before this year?
Because he's not a good coach. Like, the Boston team that he took to the NBA Finals was fucking loaded, first of all. Last year, I think he had some great veteran leadership that probably helped steady a lot of the things. And he just doesn't have an offensive system. We talked about, like, he didn't have an offensive set last year. He had younger guys that bought in maybe a little more to his defensive system. And then part of coaching is locker room management, right? Like, Phil Jackson, was he a great X's and O's guy? Maybe. But what he was great at was massaging egos and getting the most out of the elite players of the game, from Michael to Kobe to Shaq to Pippen to Rodman, all those guys. You dropped Durant in the locker room, and you didn't have the kind of coach necessary to handle his personality. And you look at what it's done to this team's chemistry.
These guys aren't confident. This stuff came out that Durant thinks they all suck, and all of a sudden, none of them feel good about themselves. Or look what happened to Tari. How much of Tari Easton's struggles this year do you think we could directly relate to the fact that his teammate under a burner came out and said he fucking sucks?
Yeah, I'm with you. All right.
So I'm on the fire Ime train. I need Tillman to come home from Italy and fire fucking Ime Udoka. I'll do the job for half of what you're paying him.
All right. Is it ready for some awards? Speaking of,
let's give some awards away. It's time, Scott.
All right.
Who do you want to go pow right in the kisser with this week?
Punching in the face. I'm going to do it again. I've done this before. Chandler Rome is back to his old, bag
you
of
don't
tricks.
Like him.
I don't like him because is his commentary wrong? Not necessarily, but to me, that's not his job. That's not his lane. His lane is to give us the information. Should you ask tough questions? He's better at asking tough questions than Brian McTaggart or whoever they've got over at the Chronicle.
You talking about backfield? Good old backfield?
Yeah, I think McTaggart, is a little too much a stenographer for my taste, but that's what a beat guy is supposed to do. A beat guy is supposed to go up to, you stick a microphone in the general manager's face, and the general manager gives you your narrative. And you ask him a tough question like, hey, did you look into the injury past? Hey, what was your plan for, bringing Amaya along? Those are tough questions, and those are questions that should be asked. But to me, to run off on your podcast or run off in your articles and talk about how, you're shit talking Dana Brown and all that, you don't need to shit talk Dana Brown, man. He's doing a pretty good job himself. And I'll get to him later. But the difference is, Tim, and I want to make this clear, are you and I beat writers?
We are not.
So we are commentators.
Yep.
So let me commentate on what I think is going on. Let me use you as a conduit of information to inform my opinion so that my commentary can be well informed. If I have to look at you and you're giving me commentary and I'm supposed to use that to inform my commentary, then is my commentary based on facts or is it based on your opinion?
No, you're right. Have you ever seen Nightcrawler?
Nah, can't say I have.
It's a wonderful film. Highly recommend it. Jake Gyllenhaal. And it's about a guy who clearly has a personality disorder, but he learns that there's like a group of people called Nightcrawlers who go out and they film accidents and crashes and death and things like that for the news. And they are independent contractors and they just sell the footage for the news, right? He kind of manipulates some things at the end and he kind of learns if you create the news, you can be there to film it, right? Like that's kind of like his takeaway from this, right? That like if you push these buttons in the right way, you will be standing where you need to be standing with your camera as someone's dying. And so that's kind of the same situation to me, right? Like push the buttons, make it happen, and then be like, ooh, here we go.
When I was on the newspaper staff at TCU, back when TCU Daily Skiff was a daily, our student body president sent in a letter, and in his letter he said, y'all should be making more news. And it's like, you don't want us to make news, dude. We can make some news.
Yeah. That's not the point of journalism, is not to make the news. And that was the whole critique of what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
It was like, you're supposed to be above this. You're supposed to be just a silent observer. You're not supposed to be the one causing the mayhem just so you can get a $2,000 check for a video clip.
All right. Who you got, Tim?
This is a tough one, but I think I would like to punch whoever was in the van producing the Rockets-Lakers game last night. We get it. LeBron is 41 years old. We absolutely get it. You know what really sold it, Scott? Was the multiple fucking shots of the bald spot on the back of LeBron's head. They must have zoomed in on that time on 10, 15. It was literally like anytime he was bent over next to KD, it was like, oop, two old men, little bald spots on the back of the head. Let's zoom in on that. Aging stars. Like it was literally like they used to emphasize Clyde's bald spot, I feel like, when he was with the Rockets in the 90s because he just kind of looked old. It was reminiscent of that. And I get it. LeBron is an aging player. He's 41. What he's doing at this age is amazing. You don't have to zero in on his head to the point where he's now going to get self-conscious and use Rogaine after this game, or get a spray paint fill in like he used to do with the
Stephen Miller.
It was enough to give someone a complex, Scott. It was insane.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of Stephen Miller. Actually, Drexler, probably made himself look younger when he shaved it all off when he got to Houston.
I mean, he had a bald spot for a bit before he
Yeah,
shaved
yeah.
it off, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. He definitely did.
I guess that was more Trailblazers time was when he
Yeah.
really was rocking the Costanza. But like, I mean, LeBron's isn't even that bad, Scott. Like it almost looks like a barber nicked him on accident, right? Like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. But that would never happen because LeBron, and like he would have the most amazing barber, but like he has the tiniest little bald spot. And I swear to God, ESPN zoomed in on it 10 or 15 times.
All right. Time for the horse's ass. Okay, Tim, I'm sorry. We got to do this again. Whoever the training and medical staff is, they got to go. And here's what I'm going to say. I make no bones about this. I'm a 52-year-old man. If you sent me out in 39 degrees and said, I want you sprinting, there is probably a very, very good chance I'm pulling up lame with something. Hamstring, groin, all of it, calf. I'm blowing something out. I'm, but see, the thing is that I'm 52 years old. I'm not 22 years old or 32 years old. And I'm not a highly trained and tuned athlete. Now, what we've been reading is that this team doesn't seem to have a nutrition plan. We're just kind of letting guys eat whatever they want. This team doesn't seem to have a plan for, how they warm up for games. And I would think, and I don't know, I'm just crazy here, Tim. If it's sub 40 degrees, do you think that your training methods to get ready for that game should change a little bit?
A skosh?
Just a bit. And so you've got 14 guys on the disabled list, Tim. 14. We're not even through April. I mean, now you've got, so let's count with me here. Would you consider, obviously Pena is a regular.
Mm-hmm.
Myers is a regular.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider Loperfido a regular?
Yeah, you should be your starting left fielder.
Okay, there's 3. So 3 of your 9 starters down.
Your backup shortstop, who's replacing the shortstop, who's already hurt.
Nick the Stick Allen, he's hurt. He got hurt in warm-ups. They had to scratch him, which
part of that warm-up procedure we're talking about.
That's happened multiple times now. And what pissed me off, Tim, is that was one of the particular games that I wrote the game preview for Crawfish Boxes, and he was in the starting lineup because I have to get that thing loaded 30 minutes in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not in the starting lineup when the game starts. It's like, shit. You got a guy you called up, pretty damn good reserve outfielder, Trammell, out. And you got 4 of your starters. You've got your best relief pitcher. And all of these situations, I would think, are situations that could either have been completely avoided or could have been made a lot less severe than they were with competence. Like Hader, doesn't it feel like there should have been something done earlier?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden it's like March. Oh shit, he's not going to be ready.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Or, well, I'll get to him later, but it's just completely unconscionable. I don't get it. And you sit there and you have the worst season injury-wise in big league history, and you fire the top trainer and you replace them from within. That just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. I mean, you've got you're in the medical capital of the world. There is no city in the world that has better healthcare than Houston, Texas, Tim.
I know.
I don't understand how you can't cobble together a group of top rate engineers, doctors, bioengineers, guys who can study, we got the smartest men and women in the world, and we're not using them.
Nope. The Red Duke is rolling over in his grave right now, Scott, at what is happening down there. But that's a good one. The training staff we've talked about it. That's a big Dana Brown failure for me, is the fact that this training staff is still mostly in place from last year. You cut the head off the snake, but it grew a new one. And at the end of the day, it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, I would like to nominate our head basketball coach, Ime Udoka. We have problems with a lot of what he does, Scott, but I'm going to go after him for this specific quote. Ime Udoka was asked about the struggling offense and the fact that Reed Shepherd only played 10 minutes last night, and if he thought about playing him more late in the game to provide some shooting. His answer, no. We were guarding well enough. Holding them to 101 is good enough. We just didn't score. I don't know, Ime. Maybe the best fucking shooter on your team might have helped you score a little bit. Maybe having someone to run some high pick and roll with who could pop it up would help you score a little bit. Maybe having someone with some passing ability on the floor would help you fucking score a little bit. Like, this is asinine. You took your best shooter off the floor and then say, yeah, we just didn't score enough. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me, Scott?
And then he's going to be in his head. And that's what I think what kills with Reed Shepherd is that he's going to have to live with this series. And it's almost Jalen Green level where he hasn't shown up the first two games.
But how do you show up when the moment you miss, you're pulled? You play 10 minutes, you shoot it okay, but the moment you miss a shot, you're out of the game. You're going to play hesitant. You're not going to play your game.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, that's going to get in his head, and he's going to have to So even if you fire Ime, which I don't think is going to happen, but I think that's your intent for the award, is to get him out of town.
Yeah.
But even if you do fire him, that's going to be, just mentally a reclamation project for the new coach, saying, hey, this is what I want. This is the new role I want for you. This is what I want you to do. I want you to be confident doing it because you're a 40% three-point shooter. We need that. Now go do it. And don't worry about, what happened last year. And you're going to have to fix that whole thing. I mean, we've seen guys like Ben Simmons just completely fall to pieces, and in big moments they crumbled and could never recover. And I hope that doesn't happen for this guy.
No, I don't think so. I think he's a little mentally tougher. We saw from last year to this year, right? There was definitely some challenges early on in the year this year. We talked just now about JJ Redick not having a ton of coaching experience. I'd love to see a guy like a Chris Paul come and be the Rockets head coach and try and run an offense like you had with the Clippers, right? Where you're running Reed Shepherd baseline, coming on off ball screens, coming around to the top of the key to just get good open looks. Run him baseline, run him around screens. Do what the Warriors did with Klay Thompson just to get him open looks. He doesn't need to play the point. He can be a gunner, 3-point shooting 2 guard because that's what this team ultimately needs. If this team was spaced out properly, you'd have a point guard, you'd have Reed, you'd have KD, you'd have Alpe, and a center, right? If that's Steven Adams, even better because they were good together. But that's what this team needs. You don't need Amen and a point guard together because it's just bad spacing. It's not working the way constituted, right? Amen kind of clogs the clogs the pipes up. That'd be the guy that I'm trying to move because he's still highly thought of. And to get me another player would be Amen Thompson.
So can I interest you in a Sam Cassell or Mario Ellie?
Maybe. I think Sam Cassell has been around a lot. Hasn't really ever had his shot. Coming home to Houston, I could be sold on that.
I mean, obviously, it depends on what system he wants to bring in. I mean, that's got to be the first, second, and third questions.
Yeah, you've been
If you're asking
assisted a
any
lot
of
of
these,
places.
you know, what are you bringing system? Are you, because you mentioned Steve Nash, who obviously flamed out, and then New Jersey. Was it still New Jersey when he was coaching there, or did they already move to Brooklyn?
I think they moved to Brooklyn.
So, you know, he flamed out there. But coaches learn from their first stops all the time. So, you know, would you give Steve Nash an interview?
I would. But I'd almost want someone from the Kerr coaching tree right now, right? Like I want someone who uses off-ball screens. I want someone who has a lot of movement in their offense that does things to get guys good looks without having just to beat them off the ball. That's what we have right now. I want a motion-based offense that does some things.
Well, what kills me is that I think, and I'd have to look up Cassell and Ellie. They've both been assistants. They've both been top level assistants in the league. I don't know for who, but I want to say at least one of them is a Popovich guy. And see, and Popovich could coach a little bit of offense. I mean, he had an offensive system. You know, I don't think he was going to set any scoring records, but I would say that the Spurs over the years have been a solid offensive team.
I'd agree.
So if it's somebody from the Popovich tree, that wouldn't be bad either. I mean, I know Ime's been Ime, but to me, the whole question should be what kind of offense do you run? Because I wouldn't mind an Adelman-like system.
Yeah,
because that's kind of what you're describing.
I would like something like that too. And I think we had some good offenses of Vic Adelman here, all things considered, right? Like when he was let go, he kind of made the offhanded comment of, I was here to coach Yao and T-Mac together, and I think I only had like 80 games of the two of them together in my time here. So, you know, Adelman was a fun system, and I just want a true system. We don't have an offense, Scott. Like I quoted Charles Barkley. I've watched both these games. We don't have a fucking offensive system. We are not a good offensive basketball team. We may, quote unquote, play good, hard-nosed defense. That's fine. But it's very much like watching UH, where, you know, UH, a lot of times when they get in trouble, they just like jacked up threes, and they were such good offensive rebounders that they were able to muscle around inside, and that's how they scored. And then a lot of times when you got to the tournament, that didn't work anymore. And to me, that's what's happening here, right? You started this season off with the Twin Towers down low. You don't have that anymore. And you never really adjusted your plan to it. And you just don't have an offense.
All right, Tim. So time for some good vibes.
Yeah, let's tip a cap, Scott. Who do you have for us this week as your hat tip of the week?
I will hat tip Christian Vasquez because I think he's gotten off to a great start. And I think he is exactly what this team needed for a backup catcher. And unfortunately, I think what's likely going to happen, he's going to start playing more. And those numbers are going to get, you know, they're going to start looking a little uglier and uglier because I think he is at his best a guy that's going to maybe get 200 at-bats in a season. I think that's who he is at this point. He's, 35 years old. 35 for a catcher is pretty damn old. That's like 40 for a regular player. But it's not his fault the starting catcher sucks. So, even if they stuck him in there, and even if he hit 220 with no power, you're still pretty certain that you're going to get professional at-bats, and you're going to get a guy that's going to call a good game. And I think with this pitching staff, as bad as it is, if you could have a catcher that shaves a run off a game, that's pretty damn valuable. I mean, if that's who he is.
No, I agree. That's a great hat tip. I think the games just go smoother behind the plate when he's in there, right? Like almost instinctively, I'm like, wow, Yanner looks better behind. Nope, that's Vasquez, right? Like when you just turn the game on, you're like, wow, really looks better receiving the ball. Nope, that's not Yanner. So no, I think that's a great hat tip. I think you and I both agree that it should be 3 of the 5 starts, in my opinion, going to Christian Vasquez at this point. And we spent years with Jason Castro and Maldonado as our, as our catchers, and we didn't care that those guys didn't hit, right? Like they were great at what they did defensively. They controlled the pitching staff, they controlled the running game, all that other stuff. That's fine to me. Well, we were fine when Brad Ausmus struck out or ground into a double play all the time because of what he did defensively. And anything that he brought offensively was a cherry on top, like his game tying home run in 2005 in the 9th inning against the Braves. So I don't mind if Christian Vasquez isn't a 300 hitter. I'd prefer a guy who hits 225 and mans this pitching staff better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Who you hat tipping today?
I'm going to tip Spencer Arrighetti, Scott. He's made 2 starts since we had our last show, and they've both been dandies. A guy who didn't make the opening day roster, whether it was from, the spring training competition or his wife's birth to their child. I don't know what the reasoning was, but either way, it's a chip on your shoulder, right? That you weren't chosen to be one of the guys on or on opening day. And I like the fire and competitiveness that have come from Spencer after being somewhat overlooked. This team needed somebody to come in and make some good fucking starts. And between Lambert today and Arrighetti, we're starting to get a little bit of something, right? Like Weiss looks okay. There's some word that Tang is probably going to be moved to a starter role. Maybe the ship will right a little bit, but I do want to tip at least Arrighetti for coming up, making 2 great starts, and looking to be at least part of the solution at this point of the year.
Well, and I have to say, Janet and I stumbled onto Faith and Family Night, and he was one of the speakers at the end. And basically, what he said was there was a start last year in Minnesota where he said he broke down in the hotel afterwards. It was just, because last year was a rough year, kind of all the way around for him. And so he, rededicated himself to his faith. And I think, obviously everybody's faith is a personal thing, but I think it seems to have centered him some and given him some perspective. And so, obviously, if that makes him a better version of himself, then fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it takes to have the confidence within yourself to go to fight that battle every day, right? And if that's what it took for him to feel that he was good enough to do that, more power to you. All right, Scott, let's out with the good and in with the scumbag. Who do you have for us this week?
I am completely out on Dana Brown. I'm done. And I don't know what the final straw was, because I think even coming into the year, I was like, I don't think this guy's going to be back. But I think the news today, you sent it to me in text. We had a signing in Major League Baseball. Break the news for our listeners.
Yeah, Lucas Giolito, $3 million to the San Diego Padres.
I don't know. Did we have $3 million to spend, Tim?
I think we did.
Do we have holes in our rotation?
1 or 2?
Or 3?
4?
Depending on whether
5?
you run a 5 or 6 man rotation, right? So I don't get it. I mean, if it were a situation where you were going to have to blow over the tax, I would have been like, okay, I get it. You don't want to, chase, good money after bad, and go over to tax for something that probably isn't going to get you over the top. But if you have a guy now that could help you stem the tide and give you a chance to climb back into this thing in June and July, I don't understand why you're not making that deal. Now, obviously, I think there's like a mutual option for next year, I think. But I read the article on MLBPR. There was no amount given. I'd have to look that up. But why weren't you ever in on him? And I just because the additional thing, Tim, is that he's one of the few guys that actually defended the Astros during the whole scandal.
Yeah.
And so this isn't like a situation where like, hey, would you like Cody Bellinger? No, I would not like Cody Bellinger. Thank you very much. Or who's that guy, Kelly? Would you like Kelly in your bullpen?
No.
No, I would not like Kelly in my bullpen. But here's a guy that defended your team. Is he a Cy Young candidate? No. Is he even above average starter? No. I would say he is. When you look up Major League average in the dictionary, you have a picture of Lucas Giolito right sitting there staring at you.
But goddamn, wouldn't average be great right now?
It would be. It would be. And I think you're on the money with how many times this guy sticks his foot in his mouth. And it's like neither you or I have public relations degrees.
Took a few classes.
You're closer to it than I am. I took a couple of journalism classes, but I got into poli-sci, so I'm not into the PR thing. But I think you and I, if you stuck a microphone in our face, could figure out a way to talk for 3 or 4 minutes and say nothing of substance. I think
we do it for an hour and 21 minutes so far.
I mean, we could do that. I mean, without making any, without causing any stirs, without, raising any eyebrows, without, any, any major hot takes, we could do it. I don't understand where this guy, and why Crane hasn't gotten to him or somebody within that front, the executives on the business side haven't gotten to him and said like, hey, buddy, we need to figure this out. And it's like you got him and Joe Espada, who must be, when they're together on the road or watching Stranger Things or Euphoria or whatever it is they're watching, they're not talking baseball because they can't be because they don't seem to be talking the same language. No. I don't get it.
I'm with you, Scott. That's a good choice and a very frustrating situation we find ourselves in here in Houston. I'm going to pick the new owner of the Portland Trailblazers, Tom Dundon. I don't know if you knew this, Scott, or if you saw the stories. Portland made some decisions, some cost-cutting decisions for the playoffs. Number one, their two-way players are not traveling with the team to San Antonio.
Yeah,
they are the only playoff team to not bring their two-way players to San Antonio. The team will also not be doing any special shirts or anything like that for the fans to put on. Like pretty much every other team in the NBA does. The Spurs had an awesome Fiesta-themed shirts on all the different seats last night. But no, they're not doing that in Portland. And it's disappointing because if you look at this gentleman's history, he made his money off subprime auto loans, ripping people off in the 90s. Then he, is part of the strategic investment in Topgolf, which kind of destroyed Topgolf. And then he goes to the Carolina Hurricanes, buys them, and has treated them like a investment instead of a team, right? Like, I understand there's a business of sports, but there's a lot of public trust that comes into buying one of these organizations, right? Like there's a lot of people who live or die with the decisions you make as an owner of a team. And when you come in and treat it like a private equity buyout and just strip it for parts and put it out there, that's fucking bullshit. And it's bullshit to the fans who have been diehard Portland Trailblazer fans since the time of short shorts and an MVP season from Walton, right? Like that's a lot of history of that franchise and a lot of pain and heartbreak, and you still have loyal fans. And there's a lot of guys who fought hard for your team this season that helped you make the playoffs. Yeah, they're two-way players, but they still played games for you and they deserve to be there. And that's the definition of a sports scumbag to me, Scott.
Well, and the thing that kills me, Tim, is that that's a coach that deserves Coach of the Year.
Yeah, especially with the fact that Billups was arrested before the season started.
I mean, this is a guy that's like, oh, by the way, you're coaching the team now. And he coaches them to what, about a 500 record with, I don't know who's on that team.
Scoot Henderson had 32 last night.
So that's a guy that did a hell of a coaching job. And
absolutely,
the fact that he's got Rachel Phelps as an owner just fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's really disappointing to know that all you care about is making money, right? Like, say what you want about Jim Crane, the guy at least wants to win, right? Like, he wasn't willing to let this team bottom out so they could get out from under, the competitive balance tax. He said, I want to be a competitive team, and I want you to get me out of the competitive balance tax hell that we're in. So
could you imagine him like a Rachel Phelps and, the NBA going like, here's the list of players we're going to be inviting to camp. Wait a minute. Granville Waiters hasn't played in 30 years.
Dirk Nowitzki's interviewing for coaching jobs. Yeah. What are you talking about? We invited him.
That guy played for the Celtics. He died 10 years ago.
They don't have to come. They're just invites.
Mark him off the, the ones I have heard of are way past their prime.
Glenn Big Baby Davis, he's in prison.
Is he still alive? Or
he's in prison. He's in prison.
Oliver Miller is the one that passed away.
Which one?
Oliver Miller.
There's
got Corliss Williamson. Didn't he play for Arkansas back in the day?
Len Bias.
He died back in '87.
All right, Scott. This is your moment to announce. This is our special comment section of the show. We will be going over our quotes of the week. If you don't like that, get out. Now's your morning to get out of the show. If you don't want to hear Scott and I laugh at the idiocracy that comes from our government. All right, Scott.
I am going to go in chronological order here, Tom.
Okay.
And these are not quotes necessarily. These are mostly situations. So you're going to choose the most embarrassing of these situations, right? Okay, number one, have you heard of Scott Bessent?
Yes.
Okay, Secretary of the Treasury. Now, he was talking about opinions of science, because when I want to talk science, I go to the Treasury Secretary. That's my go-to for science theory here. Now, he has a quote, and his quote was, "As we know, the natural habitat for the earth is actually water." So apparently he watched Waterworld and thought that was reality. But the one that gets me here, Tim, is that apparently the problem area in Iran, the body of water that they have shut down was the Strait of Hormuz. So my question is, do we want to start selling naming rights for bodies of water? Can I get like
the Dasani Gulf of Mexico?
Can I get the Strait of Triple Sec, with maybe like next to the Strait of Jose Cuervo? Get a nice margarita out of it. So that's number one. Okay, so number two, remember this is in order that these things happen. You've got your Secretary of War and my Secretary of War quoting Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction for his Bible verse. And I'm not going to repeat the whole Bible verse because,
it's the great vengeance and furious anger one, right?
Yeah.
The Lord hath upon me with great vengeance and furious anger.
Which, by the way, that does not exist.
No, it's not in the Bible. It's not in there.
It's a figment of Quentin Tarantino's imagination. Now, now, do you know your Bible forwards and backwards?
No, I mean, I go to mass when I can fit it in my tight schedule, but I can't exactly have an eidetic memory of the Bible at this point in my life.
No, and I've taken, I took the Bible class at TCU, made an A, by the way, at the highest grade in the class. But if somebody would have sat there and said, okay, Book of Ruth, chapter 3, verse 10, go. I'd be like,
Grave vengeance and furious.
But if I was making a major address and I was quoting the Bible, don't you think you would break it open and actually maybe write this shit down?
I would think so, but I don't think they write any of their own. Here's what happened. Okay. They don't write their own speeches. I think you and I could both agree they don't write them. But they also don't look at what is written for them before they get up there, right? Like, when I first started lecting at St. B's, I took a lot of time and prep, right? Like, I really was like, okay, I'm going to nail these readings. And then I started getting some feedback about how I was like the best lector. I was getting Christmas Mass. I was getting Easter Mass. I'll be honest, it went to my head a little bit. And next thing you know, I stopped the prep work, right? And then I'm up there one day reading the prayers of the faithful. And I say that for all those who are freaking sedum, Lord, hear our prayer, right? And I have never lived that one down.
Oh man,
and that's just the prayers of the faithful, right? So now imagine a couple of, dry vermouth martinis and the feeling that you're untouchable and the fact that you don't ever look at the material before you step in front of that microphone. That's exactly what happens.
All right. So here's the $1 million question. Does the speechwriter hate Pete Hegseth and is just fucking with him? Or is he just as big an idiot as Pete Hegseth?
I think he's just as big an idiot. It's probably like Pete Hegseth's cousin or his nephew or something like that.
Because I could see it the other way too. It's like, I'm going to slip this in there and see if this jackass reads it.
What was it like? Was it Jimmy Kimmel who had like try to get guys to say like secret phrase, like the secret phrase, and would work it like the Oscars or something? It's a bedazzled night, whatever it was, right? Like, what if like Jimmy Kimmel's like, I need you to work in the Pulp Fiction Bible verse, and then you're gonna see like a phone call on Kimmel later, like with him and the speechwriter.
You got all these colonels, lieutenants, majors sitting there in the audience going like, who the fuck is this guy? What the hell? All right, moving on in chronological order. We've got Kash Patel passing out drunk at his desk. Apparently needs SWAT to break in to get him out because they kept banging on the door and he could not get out. They're also postponing early morning meetings because he is too hungover to attend them. And now he is suing the Atlantic for
already thrown out this morning, Scott.
$250 million. And because here's my thing, Tim, and you took some journalism classes. I took some journalism
classes. The judge threw it out already.
What is the number one defense?
The truth.
Exactly.
The truth is the defense for libel.
And I don't know about you, but the Atlantic is many things. But I don't think they're printing that based on, dude, I heard a rumor that, no. That's going to be sourced out the ass. And there's so that's pretty, and then, to me to go on there, I don't know if you saw yesterday's, I'm going to actually postpone that for last. We get Donald Trump, who apparently we found out on Good Friday when they shot down a plane, he was yelling at his staffers for hours and had to be kicked out of his own Situation Room because he was a raving lunatic. Not because, oh my God, these pilots, I'm worried about them, but I'm going to end up like Jimmy Carter and, and people are not going to respect me and all this, that, and the other. And how could we do this? Blah, blah, blah. And so I can imagine all the ketchup bottles that went flying there. But I'm going to read the last one to you because this one, I think this is my favorite one. Have you heard about the Secretary of Labor?
I believe so, yeah.
So let me read this for the audience, and I'm reading this directly. So Lori Chavez Duremer, she resigned as U.S. Secretary of Labor on April 20th, following Bloomberg Law's report on a Department of Labor Inspector General investigation into misconduct, which included an alleged affair with security detail member. misuse of funds for travel, which included taking staff to strip clubs. And then the Guardian also reported investigations also highlighted NPR reports of workplace alcohol use and sexually suggested messages sent to staff not only by her husband, but also her father. In fact, both of them showing up to the office and getting a little handsy, apparently. And she not only knew about it, but she told staff that you have to listen to these men. So now she's resigned, Tim. I don't know. I cannot imagine a universe where my father-in-law and I would go out together trolling for chicks. Maybe you're different.
Nope.
Nope. I mean, I could maybe imagine an alternate universe, not this one, where I might troll for chicks, but not with my father-in-law.
No.
So I don't know. And I can't imagine going to Janet's workplace and hitting on the women that are there and thinking, oh, this isn't going to come back to me. Because one of the texts is, please keep this a secret. Yeah, that's going to happen, dude. So out of that group,
can I add one more? Since we're doing situations, I'd like to add my own nominee. How about it comes out today in the middle of a naval blockade?
Oh, yes.
The Admiral of the United States Navy has decided he's had enough and he's stepping down. That's a fun situation.
But do you know, was this the one where he revealed nuclear secrets to an undercover journalist on a first date?
I don't know if
that came out.
I think this is the one where Trump was wanting nuclear.
Oh, that's the one where he blocked Trump from sending.
Yeah.
So there's that guy. That's embarrassing for Trump, obviously. But there's apparently another guy who had to resign because he revealed nuclear secrets on a first date with an undercover journalist.
He got honeypotted.
I mean, I can't imagine on a first date sitting there going like, let me tell you about this kid that I work with, and his name is blah, 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 blah. I mean, what the hell? I mean,
it's not, you got to imagine the date's not going well, right? Like they probably tried to start off light. You seen any good movies lately? And she probably hit him with the TV, right? Immediately you're like, fuck, shit, I don't read. I gotta find hey, I got nuclear secrets. You like bombs? Do you like bombs?
Oh God. Okay, so out of that group, Tim,
to me, it's Kash Patel. The fact that it was thrown out of court immediately for what we said, the truth will set you free. You're a fucking lousy piece of shit drunk. You never should have been in charge of the FBI to begin with. We've gone from daily briefings to like twice a week briefings for the head of the United States intelligence community. We're charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with being in cahoots with the fucking KKK. No one in the press conference believed it when it happened and immediately started asking him questions about his bullshit lawsuit, right? Like, he's such a fucking loser. I can't imagine if you put me in a lab to make a loser, like just make someone who's just a giant fucking loser. You couldn't do a better job than Kash Patel.
Can you imagine walking in? No. Did you hear like the most embarrassing thing that happened to him though? Is that he was not able to log into his computer. And so he was freaking out to all the aides. He's fired me. He's fired me. I've been fired. He probably had it on caps lock.
Oh my God.
But I mean, and to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to have 2 briefings a week, but it can't be before 10 a.m. And he's coming in with the sunglasses on.
I gotta have my fucking first cup of coffee before. Come on, get a fucking cup of coffee before you start telling me about terrorism, please.
Can you imagine, like, okay, the Iranians doing this? Stop yelling at me, dude. I can't take it. Don't start yelling, man. Why are you talking so loud?
John, you were at the bar with me last night. You saw what we did. Can you please Let me finish my coffee and just ease into my fucking day, please. I like to ease into my day. I don't like to walk right into the office and have a bunch of folders waved at me. Okay. I got a Sudoku to do. I have my daily Wordle, and I like to have my coffee. Once my routine is done, then we can look at some of the threats that are possibly going to happen today. But they're not going to happen between 9 and 10, are they, John? No. Crime happens at night. Everybody knows that.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish my immaculate grid. I got to finish my immaculate grid.
Hey, you guys know that when you get a McGriddle, you got to eat it hot. Okay. If I have this briefing now, then come back to this McGriddle, the structural integrity of the McGriddle will be completely ruined.
All right, Tim. So that means you are on the hook next week, so you can go quotes or situations.
Might have a mix of both. We'll see what the world
might have a mix of both, and where Cash Patel is going to be hard to beat.
That's a tough one. And it wasn't. I gotta also add, it's not that SWAT broke into his room. It's that it happens so often that his security detail has to have a breaching protocol available at all times that they can breach his fucking door that he locks while he passes out drunk. This isn't a one-time thing.
It's like, couldn't you like leave the door cracked or something? I mean, come on. I mean, is he snoring? Is he a snorer? You think?
I think he's probably doing a little bit more than drinking alcohol. I think he's having a little nose candy.
But isn't that an upper? Why are you falling asleep if you're taking an?
I don't know. I've never rode the White Lightning myself, Scott, so couldn't personally tell you. But I mean, I like this is literally like the Delta Tau Delta of Animal House, right? Like this is like where we're at now. You had like Kevin Bacon's fraternity, which is like, just trying to go to school, get good grades. One guy's in JROTC trying to fucking get his life on right, Niedermeyer or whatever. He's just trying to do the right thing. And then you got Delta Tau Delta over there, fucking toga party.
8 years of college down the drain.
Exactly, man. Nice to meet you. And it was nice to meet you.
And he was no, it was funny. You got to watch the
damn good to meet you as well. Damn good to meet you.
You got to watch the Daily Show take on Cash Patel, because they're joking about him getting drunk at the Olympics, where he didn't even know it was the hockey locker room. He was just getting drunk, and then they come in afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys,
hey, I thought I smelled beer in here." Us booze hounds, we can find it anywhere. I saw an open cooler. The line was too long for the concession stand. I figured, hey, it's okay.
Oh man, it's just rough. All right, Tim. I think we've run that sucker into the ground.
In the words of the amazing film that was Team America: World Police, Scott, America, fuck yeah. All right, Scott, that's all we have for you this week on Born on the Bayou Sports. Hopefully the Astros can continue their winning ways, and we'll be in a great mood next week. Honestly, I don't even care if the Rockets get swept as long as the Astros find a way to right this ship.
And we break down NFL draft next week.
There will be a pick made tomorrow night, Scott. I don't even know how we zoomed right past that, but we will talk Texans draft results next week on Born on the Bayou Sports.